Hello and welcome to the Mysticast, where you join me, Jack Stafford, a student of metaphysics, as I talk to a variety of guests to better understand the teachings given by the masters through the Aetherius Society, the new cosmic religion for the Aquarian age, incorporating all yogas, Christian mysticism, theosophy, UFOs, and much, much more. Please note that this is an independent podcast, not produced or fact-checked by the Aetherius Society. Today, my guest is Alyson Lawrence. Hello, Alyson.
Hello, Jack. Very nice to be here again.
It's lovely to have you here. I've had you on my other show, Pod Songs.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And now I've got you on the Mysticast. This is brilliant.
Oh, yes, that's great. Thank you.
And what I wanted to speak today is about crystals, because I asked in the King Yoga group, which is for Aetherius Society members and sympathizers. And everyone recommended Alyson. They said she's the
queen of the gems.
Exactly. So I'm super newbie here. I don't know anything about crystals. So I'm completely in your hands here. I really want to just learn in the next hour as much as I can. Right.
Well, I'll try and enlighten you. I mean, my whole approach to the study of crystals is on a scientific basis. Okay. Because I'm a qualified gemologist. I'm a fellow of the Gemological Association of Great Britain. And it's been my passion ever since I was a child, studying gems and examining them. And well, I got the qualification. It was a special 2-year course. And the Aetherius Society does use crystals. Now, when we talk about crystals, I'm talking about quartz crystal. I mean, not all the other gems, and there's a lot of information about other gems, through meditation, and I can't really verify that. But I stay with quartz crystals, and it can really enhance your life if you know how to use them in the correct way.
So what's the definition of a quartz crystal? What are the different types?
Well, like the clear quartz, the crystal points. The amethyst is of the same family, so smoky quartz. Then you've got the cryptocrystalline variety like agate, onyx, sardonyx. They're all part of the crystal of the quartz family, if you like. It's the same chemical composition. But the difference, say, between a single quartz crystal is that it grows in a certain direction, and it has it follows a particular pattern. It's a hexagonal crystal, and there are different ones. But with cryptocrystalline quartz, like all the agates, they still have the same atomic formation, if you like, but they don't grow in any one direction. But the great thing about quartz crystal is that it regulates energy, and it can also store energy, and you can program it. And I have, in fact, designed a course based on information that Dr. George King, he spoke about them. And we use them in our missions, and they're used not just on this earth. I mean, if you believe in the philosophy of the Aetherius Society and life on other worlds, the study of crystals is quite an important aspect. So we're just really reflecting in a more basic way some of the uses of crystal, particularly for storing energy.
Wow. Where do they get their properties? Do they all form in the ground over a long period of time?
Yes, that's right. They come from the earth. And in fact, it's very interesting. I read some years ago about a Japanese scientist who thought that the core of the earth was in fact a giant crystal. May not be quartz, but even if it is iron, it can become crystalline under great pressure and heat, you see. And it's like quartz crystals are like an outer reflection of the inner core of the Earth in some way.
So that's the key. How they're formed is the pressure. Are they? What are they? Were they made from originally? Is it organic material? Or
No, they're inorganic. I mean, the organic gem materials are things like amber, pearl, coral, but everything else is what you call inorganic. And then you get trace elements. You get different combinations of chemical formula, and they produce all these different crystals and different colors. I mean, it's quite an amazing phenomenon that we have on this planet, you know, that there are in fact so many different varieties of gems.
So you can't grow them you can't grow artificial.
Well, you can. You get synthetic gems, most certainly. Yeah? And they were developed in the late 19th century when there was a process called the Vermeer process to develop synthetic ruby. But they're done differently, you know, you get the certain combinations. You have a seed crystal, and then you have to have intense pressure and heat, and they grow, different ones. You know, they don't really, I think they're looking at producing synthetic quartz, but I haven't actually come across those. The ones that are synthesized are the more precious ones, like the ruby, sapphire, and emerald. And that's a science in itself as to how they produce them and how to distinguish them. You know, you have to have a good eye because they can replicate them so well. And they're even starting to reproduce diamonds, which of course is the hardest material on Earth.
Is that also a quartz crystal?
Yes, yes. In fact, the very first job I got was as a diamond sorter working for De Beers.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's right. So I'd get all these packets of rough diamonds, and I had to sort them into different categories. But I tell you, you were vetted. You had to go through. You were monitored. You were photographed. You had to, you know, they checked everything. They checked you very carefully to make sure that that some of the girls didn't put some of the diamonds under their fingernails or things like that. So there were cameras on you the whole time. Anyway, that's, in the end, I left that because it was starting to give me eye strain. All the time I had to have this twice magnification lens, you know, like a sort of visor, so that I could, you know, see what I was doing. But
is there a genuine shortage of, because I heard the story about diamonds, whether there was not a shortage, but there was a marketing campaign, like De Beers went to a marketing agency in New York, I think after the Second World War or sometime like that, and said,
well, what I can tell you is that De Beers want to control the whole market. And so they've been buying up all the diamond mines, you know, years ago that they were mining them in Russia. I mean, that's not the flavor of the day, but they were. And so they were buying them up so that they could control the price.
Right.
Because if the market were flooded with diamonds, they'd become worthless. And at the end of the day, apart from the industrial use of diamonds, which are, you know, below gem quality, because it's just carbon, it's in the cutting, because it's got this luster, this sort of iridescence that other gems just don't have. And it's to do with the hardness as well.
I also remember reading somewhere there was a beach covered with rubies. It was just the local stone.
Oh, really?
Somewhere.
Where was that? Somewhere in Sri Lanka or down?
Something like that, yeah.
Must have been, because yes, a lot of those highly prized gems actually come from Sri Lanka. I mean, the Sri Lankan sapphires, the Ceylon sapphires, are sort of sky blue. You know, you don't see those very often. You know, one tends to think that they're sort of dark inky blue, and the Australian sapphires are much darker. But the cashmere sapphires, for instance, they're lovely, rich royal blue. They're absolutely beautiful color. So it depends on the trace element, you know, and the environment in which they're found, which does affect their color.
And so going back to our topic, does that also, yeah, I've dragged you off track.
That's all right.
But so what affects the properties of the quartz? Is it the minerals or the way that where they came from, or how do you judge its quality?
Well, a quartz crystal is a very pure type of crystal. It doesn't have any trace elements. It's just silicon dioxide.
Okay.
It's pure. And it has the properties that you can put a current through it. It regulates currents. This is why you have the crystal sets. You know, the early radios were called crystal sets because they had little pieces of crystal which regulated the electrical current. And so, I mean, it's pretty much known around the world, and I think it's starting to be accepted now that quartz crystal can have uses that can be very beneficial, and that they've done tests on water. If you put a quartz crystal in water, it sort of rebalances the water molecules. It's really got a power of its own, and you can use it for healing. You can charge yourself up. You can even use it for absent healing, but I have to tell you how to do that because it's a slightly different technique because it's becoming impersonal, but you can charge it. But also one of the big secrets is how to cleanse it. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, and it's not enough to just put it over a Tibetan singing bowl. You have to do it in a scientific way because it's got energy and it does store spiritual energy. And, you know, you can charge a crystal, and there's a way to do that, and you can carry it with you. You can program it virtually to do what you want it to do.
Wow. So it's like a microchip.
It is. It is. And in fact, what I was reading only recently, you know, when Dr. King, he visited a Great White Brotherhood retreat in Scotland, and he was shown, he went into a large room where they had like spools, and they did recordings, and these spools were made of quartz crystal, and how they were programmed in the most incredible way. I mean, the same way that we program, say, a microchip or, you know, a reel. In the older days, it would be reel to reel, but it was much more refined. So, you know, crystals are definitely used, you know, in quite a high scientific way. And I mean, maybe with satellite number 3, do you know about satellite number 3?
I do. I'm sure people would love to hear about it, because that's the good thing about the Aetherius Society, is that we know how things go on other planets, which is in fact the future.
Absolutely. I mean, that big dome at the top, unfortunately, I haven't got any images or, you know, drawings or anything to sort of reproduce it, is made of quartz crystal. And you've got the sun shining through this dome, which then goes into another crystal. And they know how to refine all the different light rays, and they can split the rays in a way that we can't imagine to get exactly what they want. And again, it's all the science of crystals.
So I remember hearing all the piranhas come out in like a liquid form. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. In fact, Dr. King said he'd never seen light travel slowly. He said it was almost like treacle. And then it went through this matrix. And then these very, very fine rays are directed to every individual on Earth. And that's another crystal matrix. But, you know, it goes through various processes. It's
you didn't get that on your gemology course. They didn't cover that.
No, it didn't cover satellite number 3. Oh, drat.
Oh, wow. And how else do they use it on other planets then, in other examples of crystal use?
Well, I mean, we know that the Saturnians, for instance, they surround themselves in a sort of a great crystalline aura. They have crystal temples. I think they do on Venus as well. I mean, we're not told that much. We don't know that much, but certainly crystals, the science of crystallography plays a big part in their science, their scientific achievements.
Do you wonder how, because we get energy, this might take us off track, it's just a thought that popped into my head, but how astrologists use the patterns of the other planets,
yes,
in determining and we know from like satellite A1 that there is actually energy projected at different times. So does some of it come through crystals, or is it come just projected from the logos of the planet?
It comes from the logos, the energy. We got the 4 planets. You've got Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. And the energy goes through certain modules, and it goes to a satellite A1, and the adepts have to unlock the special code to be able to release the energy so that it is then diverted to the logos of Earth. And it's the masters from Gotha who decide where the energy, where it's coming from, and how it's going to be manipulated. And that is the great science of Operation Space Magic.
Right. Well, we went very high very quickly there.
Yes, that's right. We skipped a few things there.
Also, the Master Jesus in his new form, he has belts with crystals.
A great crystal star, which is a faceted star. And because I've been reading about this, because next week we're celebrating the true birth date of the Master Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And there's a wonderful description on the spacecraft with Mars Sector 8, when Mary King went there and she saw he had this big crystal on his chest. And so the Master Jesus, he seems to like certain accoutrements that one associates with magic. You've got the 5-pointed star. When he came to Holston Down to visit our master, he had a wand with a star on the end. And this will really interest you. I found some images of Byzantine drawings of the Master Jesus with the loaves and the fishes, and he's holding a wand. So I don't know, what the basis of that is, but there seems to be an association with the Master Jesus and a certain type of magic, which I think it's so far removed from the Christianity that's practiced today.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It is quite incredible.
That's one of the things when I joined the Aetherius Society, is that I was going through I went through this period of deconditioning, because I just realized everything's true. I just kind of said, I got kind of, like Mark Bennett had the same thing, that just, okay, if these people say this is true and that's true and that's true, then it's all the fairy tales, mermaids, werewolves, you name it. If it's all based in, so of course magic wands must be in there somewhere.
Well, it's a focal point. It's a focal point for energy. It's concentrating energy so that it comes out in a more concentrated beam.
And of course, if you have a crystal on the end.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting in itself.
Yes, it is. Wow. And so going back to the purification, actually, my first guest on this was on this podcast, the Mysticast, was Dan A. Davidson, and he talks about. So he also was just an American guy, a scientist into shape power and other things, and he also works with crystals, and he's just come to the same conclusions as you by himself. And he purifies. He makes very careful to purify the crystals. He uses the violet flame or a white flame, a visualization practice. How do you do this more scientifically?
Well, there are various ways one can do it. I mean, before I'd start by running it under a cold water tap. It's only going to get the superficial dirt off and all that. And you can use the violet flame. That is one thing you can definitely do. You hold the crystal at the base with the point facing away from you or upwards. And then, I mean, you're going to purify it in the degree that you are able to bring up the violet flame. That depends on your individual ability. And if you're holding it and you visualize the violet flame flowing up through you and you're holding this crystal, it'll flow through the crystal as well.
Right.
But also, there's one thing that the master said, and that if you leave quartz crystals in sunlight for about 3 hours, it'll transmute the energy.
Wipe it clean.
Yes, it's not, you're not getting rid of it, but you're transmuting it so that it become, they become pure. And another good way that I think would be quite you could do is to put crystals in a blue vase and let sunlight shine upon that, just like we do with the charged water. And that would definitely purify them. In fact, you could put them in water, it won't hurt crystals, but leave them in this, but it's got to be this rich royal, blue, this cobalt blue. And you leave them there for hours, a nice sunny day, and it'll be purified, ready for you to be able to charge it. That's another good way.
Okay. And so is that enough? Or is there other ways? Is that just...
There are other ways. There's the radionic way.
We have to be careful not to get into because there's an oath of secrecy in the Aetherius Society.
Well, there is. This is something that I devised based on an article that was published in the old newsletter from the 70s. But the way I developed it was that you wrap a copper coil around a crystal, and you have a point, you have a piece of the wire on the base, and then another piece at the tip leading off from the crystal, and then you earth it, and that'll pull the energy out. And if you give it a good burst of pure white energy, it'll pull that through the crystal. So it's a different approach. And in the course that I've devised, we do that with the students, and they have a go at it. Yes, oh yes, we go through everything. And the first thing is cleansing it before you even start to charge it.
So tell me about this course. What else can students learn?
You can use it for healing. Definitely, it'll enhance healing because it concentrates the energy. But what we do not recommend is that you hold a crystal point over the psychic center, because it could have an adverse effect. Now, it's contrary to what a lot of people say.
Yes. Yeah,
it is. And I can tell you about a lady I know. Well, she's not with us anymore. She passed on. She was a very active staff member, and she received healing from someone who, unbeknown to her, we found out later, had quartz crystals attached to his wrists. And he was giving her healing on the psychic centers, and she felt quite ill afterwards. So to be able to do this and really do it in a beneficial way, you would have to be almost tantamount to an adept, because all your thoughts, all your vibrations are going into that crystal. Even if you're giving the healing, there's still a lot more. There could be more baggage that you're not even aware of. So you can do it on local areas, to the shoulder, to the leg, over the body, but not on the psychic centers themselves. And I'm very hot on that.
People leave the crystals on the when you're lying down, they put them on the chakras.
You can do that to yourself. That's different, but not if you're giving healing to another person.
Understand. Okay.
There's a different set of rules, because I mean, if you're charging the crystal with white light, and then you could lay it on your solar plexus, that might energize you. But if the energy is coming from yourself, you're not going to do yourself that much harm, and
Mm.
unless you hate yourself. I don't know. But if you you charge a crystal with spiritual energies, and you really use a visualization of the white light, and you've transmuted the energies first, and then you charge it up and you program it to give healing, you could lay it on, say, your solar plexus center.
Wow. So what are some other no-nos? Because we all think crystals, great, pack them in the house, surround myself with them.
Oh, I do. My office has got crystals everywhere.
Swallow them, eat them, but what, anything we shouldn't
do? You see
do?
the divas. I mean, the divas help the crystals to grow, just like they do with the plants. And in fact, I used to work in a mineral warehouse. That was my second job. And the divas, I could see these sparks flying across the room. It was, they give out a pranic energy. You see, if they're untainted, that won't do you any harm at all, because it's just from the earth. It's when they become conditioned by our minds and our vibrations. But the pure crystal from the earth is lovely. It is a lovely energy. And yes, you can definitely benefit from that.
Okay. What's that when you touch something and you know that's when you're psychic and you touch it?
Psychometry?
Psychometry. I forgot the word
yes,
for a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have that with crystals, obviously, as well. They're probably very receptive to.
Yes, you could. You
can tell who the story of people who've handled it in the past.
Yes, but then you see, you don't know how far back that's going.
Ah.
You see, there could be vibrations going right back. You don't know who's handled it before that, what environment it's been in. Because crystals, being neutral, they'll just pick up anything and everything in the ambient room,
Right.
So if you were upset by something and you've got a crystal there, it'll pick it up and it'll store it. This is why it's so important. I keep going back to that. You must cleanse them first if you're going to use them in that way.
Okay. So how can you use them once they're cleansed? What would you?
Well, I definitely charge them up.
Okay.
And to do that, you can sort of devise a ritual for that. You can have candles. You can prepare yourself, do the violet flame, the practice of the white light and the violet flame. Then you decide what you want, how you want to use this crystal. And then you'd hold it, and your thoughts at that moment will go into the crystal. And so if you could have incense, you have all the right accoutrements, if you like, to enhance your ability to concentrate. I mean, if you were practicing, say, the 12 blessings and you had a crystal on you, that would be charged with that energy, which would be, you could use that. That energy would stay there. And so you would benefit from that. That's just an example.
Okay, so first step cleanse, second step charge, and then how would you the first step is using it?
Well, then you carry it on your person.
Oh, okay.
Or if you could sit in meditation and have, with the hands, not with the fingers crossed like that, but it's out of the line of vision. But you could charge yourself up by having two crystal points, but not facing towards each other, but both facing one way. And this will create a circuit around the aura. And you'll feel it. You will feel it. And you'll feel energized. You'll feel like a cool energy. It's quite extraordinary. And you'll become quite still. And, using crystals in that way can be very beneficial.
Yeah, anything that helps your concentration practice. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
So please go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say with absent healing. Now you might wonder how that works. Well, when an individual sends absent healing to another, there's the link. So, you're not, by just holding a crystal is not going to be enough. You need to have something belonging to the person, like you do with the pendulum for pendulum diagnosis. So you could have their signature, hair, something belonging to them. And then you hold the crystal point over that object and you send a burst of healing, they'll get it. Because you've got the human link. So that works. That would definitely work.
Wow. Okay, that's a great direct connection. Is it that because of the divas?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all interconnected. This is it. But you need to have that human element. That's why you can send absent healing by raising the hands.
Yeah.
And that person will receive the healing because of this connection that we all have to one another. But it won't particularly work if you're just holding a crystal.
No.
That's why it's almost like, the way we use the pendulum to diagnose remedies. We used to do that at the festival, for instance, and that worked very well. It's a sort of radionic technique, and this is like a development of the radionic
quantum healing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that would definitely work. I mean, you can have crystals in with your plants. They like it.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
I see also on your fingers you have different jewels. Is that to do with it?
I know. I've always loved wearing them. Well, what I'm wearing here, this is a large smoky quartz. I'm wearing, it's all crystal. And tourmaline, I'm wearing a tourmaline ring. That's it's a lovely.
Is that, do you particularly pick one finger to associate with the energy of one?
I haven't taken it that far. Well, for that, actually, you need to start studying the Hindu philosophy or of the gem therapy. And Ayurveda.
I was going to say, yeah, I remember from my Ayurveda studies.
Well, they are spot on. And I tested their techniques and I thought, well, why is it that diamond is indigo? Because you look at a diamond and, well, there's nothing that remotely is indigo about it unless you're looking at the Hope diamond. But you see, as I said at the beginning, I'm a gemologist and I have my own refractometer and my own spectroscope. Yes. So with the spectroscope, you look through it and you've got the visible spectrum. And you have to put whatever you're looking at to get a measurement. You put it, say I had a little diamond, and I put it over a very bright light source, but it's got to be a very intense light source. And I looked through the spectroscope and there was a black line in the indigo. So what it means is that that gem is reflecting all the other light waves, but withholding the indigo. So this is how they base the way to use color healing with gems. And then they dispense it in a sort of homeopathic way. So I went through the rubies. Well, when you're trying to analyze the wavelength of a ruby, you have to average it out. And there's far more withheld in the red end of the spectrum in a ruby than at the far, say at the violet end. And a sapphire, believe it or not, has more in the violet. Now, this will surprise you. If you want a gem that's absolutely blue, that withholds all the blue energy, it's peridot, and that is a light apple green gem. But that you can see it as clear as anything.
Amazing, because color therapy, according to Dr. King and the Masters, is the medicine of the future.
Yes.
Do you think this is a different aspect to crystal healing, or? It's
a different aspect. You see, I'm not going into whether a stone is lucky for you because of it, or, you know, if you want to achieve certain goals, you wear a certain stone. I'm not going down that route. I'm looking at it purely from the point of view of healing and analysis. I stay with that. That's my training, and the science backs it up. That's the whole point. So then you say, well, why is pearl related to orange? Well, it's obviously not a transparent gem, but if you take the chemical composition, calcium carbonate, you average out each element and you get orange. It's red, yellow, and orange. So bringing them together, the average is orange. You have to, it's not like looking at a palette, you know, you want a color. Light, you're looking at light frequency. And each element relates to a particular light frequency. Wow. Carbon is yellow, chromium is green, you know, and somewhat, you know, this research has already been done, and I've got a whole list of tables which relate to all the elements, and you can really work out from the chemical composition what the average would be. But you know, it's difficult when it comes to the more opaque substances.
And so what would you use this information for in healing?
Well, with healing, I try to keep it simple, and I stay with quartz crystals. You know, I'm not an Ayurvedic doctor.
You can take it a long way, yeah.
No, but I just thought it was rather interesting that color healing, and this is just something I've read and I fully believe it, that, you know, you get some alcohol and you have the gem, leave it there for 7 days. This is what the Ayurvedic doctors would tell you. And then you shake it, and then you've got the color of that gem has been released into the alcohol, and you dispense it in the way that you would, you know, the Bach remedies and things like that. But you'd have to go to an expert for that to be done, you know, and I'm not, but this is the way they do it. But I'm just looking at it from the point of view of, you know, a scientific analysis. It does add up.
I'm just getting the idea now. This is a huge area that we're not going to be able to cover in an hour.
No, we can't say no. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not claiming to be that at all.
So what areas are we missing out then that we haven't even touched on?
Well, so looking at, let me just have a look here. Well, we've done the cleansing of the crystal, then charging it, and the different uses uses for it, how you can use it for meditation, how to enhance your own healing abilities. But as I say, avoiding the psychic centers. Right. If you're holding a crystal, you can be close, but not right on the psychic centers. That's for an individual to do to themselves.
Okay.
And I'd argue that point with anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of it, really, it's you can carry a crystal. You know, if you want something for protection, you can say a prayer.
Okay.
While you're holding the crystal, and a certain thought pattern will go into it.
And then you carry that with you, and it'll keep emitting it.
Ah. Yes.
Wow.
And I mean, you could charge a crystal with color vibration by shining a light, you know, particular color through it, and the crystal will absorb that color. And then you can carry that with you. So if you need the yellow energy for mental stimulation, and you've allowed it to be charged with the frequency of the, you know, yellow, and I'd get a good wavelength for that. You can use it.
Okay, wow. One of my other guests on the show, Casey Glass, she goes into a meditative state and projects faces into the crystals, and then she imagines the face in her mind, and then she takes a photo with her phone, and the face is inside the crystal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's possible.
Wow.
That's possible.
Oh.
Well, I mean, if they can record everything and store this information, ad infinitum. I mean, prayer energy. This is the whole secret of Operation Prayer Power.
Right, right.
The energy that's put into the battery is stored in the battery with crystalline substance. That is known. And then it's released. And then but of course, the cosmic masters can change the frequency. They can use the energy that we put. And at that point, it just becomes a vibration. It's gone beyond what you and I are thinking, when we say our prayers. But we are attracting to ourselves a certain type of prana. I mean, that's what it is. It's all prana. And it comes in its pure state from the universe, from the sun, if you like.
One energy,
and then it's modified as it travels through us.
Right.
This is the outlook to have. We are modifying prana through our thoughts, our vibration, everything about our lives. And what we need to do, evolution, is about bringing the prana back to its pure state.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the adepts, adept masters can do.
They're less impure, so they have less distortion.
Yes, that's right.
And one thing you can say about the batteries, you grind up the crystals and put them inside. That's not a secret.
Well, I don't think I'm not going to quite go into that.
No, okay, all right. What else do I want to mention? I was just thinking also what you said about these tubes with because as a musician, we used to use analog. Everyone played analog and it had the best sound.
Yes.
And nowadays everyone's gone digital, but they have the effect to make it go analog. So, but analog is actually going through crystals. They're tubes. No?
Oh, really?
So it's sound, vibration, enhanced by crystals, the music we're hearing.
Well, I didn't know that. So now you've taught me something.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show science is moving in that direction the whole time.
Yeah.
You can charge the water with, a lot of research has been done, particularly in Japan. I always found that very interesting, that you can impress your thoughts on water. And they've taken images, photographs of molecules of water and how they're affected by our thoughts. I mean, and that is the basis of magic.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, really. But I think crystal is a wonderful tool to really enhance all our good qualities. And that's the correct way to use it, of course.
Yeah. Because the black magicians, they also use crystals.
Well, they might do.
Mm.
And I wouldn't like to say how they charge them or what they, but I mean, they can only use what's there, but they change it. They change things, but the basis is the same.
Because they feed on dark energy, though. They feed on.
Oh, they do. Yes. I mean, there's nothing they want more than a war, of course, because then they use that energy. You see, it's energy that they use.
And it sustains them.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think they also put it into crystals and then have it releasing slowly?
I don't know that they do that. They certainly have, magic rituals that have, aeons, or, old, very ancient rituals.
Because it's always as above, as below. So as we're putting positive energy into crystals, they must.
Well, we don't reveal the exact content of the batteries. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Obvious reasons. And
yes.
we do protect them, and this is why we have an oath of secrecy in the Aetherius Society at that level.
Yeah, that's a very good thing. Yeah. Don't want these. Anything that could be used for good could be used for bad.
Exactly.
I remember Dr. King saying that when you're doing the AUM, it makes if you're doing it right, it creates a mushroom cloud, which can crack a ceiling or bring down a crystal.
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. Yes.
Crack a glass ceiling and bring it on. Everyone was an example he used. And then when he
Wow.
saw the nuclear bombs images, he had a shock.
Yes, yes, it's probably the same. Well, there you are, you see, it's, there's certain things in creation that can be used or abused.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, anyway. this time has flown by. I can't believe we're almost.
I know.
Yeah. Oh. That's it. So what else on your course then? Can people sign up and study with you?
Oh, yes. Well, you see, before COVID, I take this course with Mervyn. You know Mervyn?
Yeah.
Yes, he's very much into crystals as well, and so we take this course together, and it's very practical. We have, we have crystals, so people can actually handle them. Mm-hmm. And we have all the apparatus, all the apparel for charging, for discharging, and we have group meditations, and then we can create a chain of light in a circle with people holding a crystal, all facing the same way, because then you get a circuit. Because crystals will flow from the base to the tip, because that's how they were grown. And all these loose crystals that you find, they've been broken off a big crystal bed, which is, that's the fact.
I noticed behind, when I'm watching the online services in the temple, there's a very big crystal behind the speaker.
Oh yes, there are two. They're two large halves of a big amethyst geode.
Wow.
And I have a couple of these geodes, and I'll tell you, you put your hand inside the geode and you feel this sort of a vibration, because all the crystal points, they're all pointing to the center area of that geode, and you put your hand there and you can feel it.
Wow.
Or if I've got a couple of large amethyst crystal beds, and you just put your hand, because you've got the psychic centers in the palms of the hands, and you place your hand over the crystal bed, and you'll feel this tingling, this vibration. It's just continually being given out.
Is that serving a purpose behind the lectern?
Well, it's to enhance. It'll definitely enhance our activities, and also their spiritual activities. Taking services, and we have one by the Adept Shrine, and the other is by the Master's Shrine. And the crystals will be absorbing this energy and giving it out as well. So it's a two-way thing, and it enhances the whole atmosphere of the temple, I think. Is
there a diva inside each one, or divas?
Well, there'd be more than one. Probably lots of little divas, all sort of manipulating the energy.
Yeah, because that's the thing I'm trying to understand, is maybe it's not even the crystals there, it's the silent workers. I know that they are behind everything. Yeah, absolutely everything. Yeah. Wow. So what should I do after speaking to you? Should I go on the internet and order a ton of crystals, or what should I do? What's a good place to start? You can order them on the internet. There's no reason why not. These days, but then you have to, you have to cleanse them, prepare them first. And if you've got a whole lot of crystals, you put them in sunlight or shine ultraviolet light on them as well. Okay, that's another thing you can do. That'll cleanse them if you've got a whole lot of crystals together. Okay, it'll purify what's there. And that's a good starting point as well. And in your shrine, in your prayer room, it's also a good place to put. Oh yes, most definitely. And that energy is there all the time, and you're absorbing it as well. Especially at that time when I'm really, I've got more control over my thoughts. I'm pumping out the energies. That's the place to have them, I'm sure. Well, absolutely.
Because, the thing with the 12 blessings, say, is that you are focusing your mind on the highest concepts.
Mm.
And while you're saying those prayers, you're not thinking of anything else. So that's got to improve your concentration and your vibration.
Mm.
You're raising your vibration every time you do that. You recite the 12 blessings.
Yeah.
You can recite mantra. But I think you've got to be very, what can I say? You've got to be very skilled. You've got to have a lot of control over yourself if you're just reciting mantra. But prayer, it's a good way to start, because you are thinking of certain words. You're not just repeating a sound, which ultimately raises the vibration. You're bringing energy of a lower quality into something higher. That's what mantra does, but so does prayer. And for someone who's not used to it, prayer, I think, is a very good way to start. It's
a tantric practice, especially the 12 blessings. It's an energy transfer. You send it to.
It is, yes.
Yeah. The greater and greater beings, and you get the energy back, and then you send it out to world
that's
benefits.
all. The Master Jesus says that. You send your energy to the Supreme Lords of Karma, and it'll come back to you.
So you think
something will come back to you,
So the Master Jesus was a great magician then? Is still a great magician.
Is still a great magician. That's exactly what he is. I love that. Might upset a few Orthodox people, but there you go. The depiction, he's with the wand, the Byzantine image, Holston down, he's holding a wand. He's got this big star on his chest, And actually, the six-pointed star is number 6 is the number for Venus in numerological terms.
Isn't that
astrological terms?
Wow! Isn't that just how it all fits together? And it's also logical that once you get higher consciousness or higher or more wisdom, that it's easy to, if everything becomes must become more obvious how it all fits together.
Yes, absolutely. It's all these pieces of a jigsaw, and you pick up a piece here, a piece there, and slowly you start to get a picture of the whole and how it all fits in.
And you must make less mistakes as well, because you realize that this fits with that, and that's a set.
Well, you're opening yourself up to higher intuition. You're not just relying on logic. You have to have a certain amount of logical deduction. But at the end of the day, the intuition never fails.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure we could keep talking, but this needs to be a whole. Are you going to do a lecture series about this or something like this to make it available to more people? Your knowledge, or?
Well, I am in the process of preparing a lecture on satellite number 3. I hope I'll do that a little later on this year.
Okay, wonderul.
And I'll go into all of it, everything.
They're real.
That is available for us to know. I mean, I'm afraid there's no film footage of it.
No, but they're brilliant, shining gems, your lectures. I really enjoy them. I look forward to them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. Well, thanks, Alyson. It's been
thank you, Jack.
Real joy.
I enjoyed this very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.